Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome to my channel, Cracking IELTS 9.0. So today I'll be discussing the Cambridge 15 Test 1 Reading Passage 1 of the Academic Reading module. Right. So let's look at the first passage. The heading says Nutmeg, a valuable spice. So let's see the number of questions given for this passage. So here we have Phillips, and then we have true, false, or not given. And then again we have Phillips in a tabular form. So let's go one by one. Right, let's look at the first question. The first important thing we need to observe here is the instruction. So choose one word only. So he says we can write only one word, right? So what's the first question? The leaves of the trees are dash in shape. So we are concerned about the leaves of the tree and their shape. So we have to look for their shape, okay? So let's dive into the passage and let's find out the shape of the leaves, right? The nutmeg tree, Myristica fragrance. Guys, please try to avoid these kind of names, okay? Because we are not bothered about the names or dates or years or any events, right? We are least bothered about that. We just have to note the keywords and find the related information. So if there is any complex vocabulary or complex words, please try to avoid it, okay? So the nutmeg tree is a large evergreen tree native to the Southeast Asia. Until the next 18th century, it only grew in one place in the world, a small group of islands in the Banda Sea, part of the Moluccas or Spice Islands in northeastern Indonesia. The tree is thickly branched with a dense foliage of tough, dark green oval leaves. Wow, I think we just got the answer, right? Dark green oval leaves, and produces small yellow bell-shaped flowers and pale yellow pear-shaped fruits. See, here we have three shapes, guys. So oval-shaped leaves, bell-shaped flowers, and pear-shaped fruits. So we are least bothered about the fruits and the flowers, right? So we only need to know the shape of the leaves, that is oval. So our answer is oval, right? So let's write the answer. It is nothing but oval. So next question. The dash surrounds the fruit and breaks open when the fruit is ripe. Okay, something surrounds the fruit, this is our keyword, and breaks open when the fruit is ripe. Okay, there is one more hint given here. So let's find out from the passage. The fruit is encased in a fleshy husk. Encased means surrounded, right? Encased. This is the synonym for surrounded. When the fruit is ripe, wow, we got one more keyword here. When the fruit is ripe, this husk splits into two halves along a ridge running the length of the fruit. Wow. I think this is what we are looking for. The fruit is encased in a fleshy husk. So fleshy husk should be the answer. But we are allowed to write only one word, so husk should be our answer, right? See, when the fruit is ripe, this husk. So husk is the answer. This husk splits into two halves. So our answer is husk. The husk surrounds the fruit and it breaks open, right? Next, third one. The dash is used to produce the spice nutmeg. Okay, something is used to produce this spice called the nutmeg. Let's see what it is. Let's read further. Continue reading and try to imagine the things. Okay, guys? So inside is a purple brown shiny seed, 2 to 3 centimeters long by about 2 meters across, surrounded by a lacy red or crimson covering called an aril. Okay? These are the sources of two spices, nutmeg and mace, the former being produced from the dried seed and the later from the aril. Former, here they gave two spices, right? Nutmeg, so nutmeg is the first one, mace is the second one. Former means the first one, nutmeg. The later means the second one, means mace, okay? So this is what we are given. So what's the question again? The dash is used to produce the spice nutmeg. Okay, the former being produced from the dried seed. Dried seed. So nutmeg is produced from the dried seed, and mace is produced from aril. So our answer should be a dried seed. Okay, but here we are allowed only one word. So what should be the answer? Just the seed. Okay, so the seed is used to produce the spice nutmeg. The covering known as the aril is used to produce dash. Aril is used to produce. See, the later from the aril. The later means the mace. Mace is produced from the aril. Nutmeg is produced from the dried seed. So here is asking dash. Okay, aril is used to produce dash. Means from aril we are getting the mace. So mace should be our answer, right? So M-A-C-E. Mace is our answer, guys. Okay, so we are done with the first set of questions. Let's move to the next one. Here we have true, false, and not given, right? First one. In the Middle Ages, most Europeans knew where nutmeg was grown. So what are the keywords here? In the Middle Ages, most Europeans knew where the nutmeg was grown. So most Europeans knew. So Europeans knew where the nutmeg was grown. Okay, let's see. Let's follow the hints. Okay. So the first hint is the Middle Ages. So where can you see the word Middle Ages? Yes, in the second paragraph, the last word, right? Middle Ages is here clearly. So let's read this sentence fully. Nutmeg was highly prized and costly ingredient in European cuisine in the Middle Ages and was used as a flavoring, medicinal, and preservative agent. Okay, throughout this period, the Arabs were the exclusive importers of the spice to Europe. Okay, they sold nutmeg for high prices to merchants based in Venice, but they never revealed the exact location of the source of this extremely valuable commodity. Wow, I think we just got the answer, right? Read the sentence again. See, they sold nutmeg. They means the Arabs, right? They sold nutmeg for high prices to the merchants based in Venice, but they never revealed the exact location of the source of this extremely valuable commodity. Means the Europeans don't know the location because Arabs did not reveal it to them, right? The Arab-Venetian dominance of the trade finally ended in 1512 when the Portuguese reached the Banda Islands and began exploiting its precious resources. Precious resources. Right? So what's the answer? Do the Europeans know? Do they know where is the exact location? No, they don't know. This is contradicting with what is given in the passage. Hence it is false. Okay, Europeans don't know because the Arabs didn't tell them, didn't reveal the location, right? Good. Next one. The VOC was the world's first major trading company. So VOC is one keyword and was the world's first major trading company. Let's see, where is this VOC? Let's find out. Okay, this is the fourth paragraph. Here we have the VOC, right? So let's read this paragraph. In 1602, Dutch merchants founded the VOC, a trading corporation better known as the Dutch East India Company. By 1617, the VOC was the richest commercial operation in the world. Wow. The company had 50,000 employees worldwide with a private army of 30,000 men and fleet of 200 ships. At the same time, thousands of people across Europe were... Okay, the passage runs on, but I think we got the answer here itself. See, by 1617, the VOC was the richest commercial operation in the world. Okay, it is given that it is the richest in the world. But is it the first company? Nowhere it is given that it is the world's first major trading company. It is the richest in the world by 1617. But nowhere it is given that it is the world's first major trading company. Hence the answer should be not given, right? So answer is not given, guys. Okay, let's move to the next one. Following the Treaty of Breda, The Dutch had control of all the islands where nutmeg grew. Wow. So keyword is Treaty of Breda. Next, the Dutch had control of all the islands. Control of all the islands is one more keyword where the nutmeg grew. So let's look for those keywords in the passage. So here we have the Treaty of Breda, guys, in the fifth passage. So after decades of fighting for control of this tiny island, the Dutch and the British arrived at a compromise settlement, the Treaty of Breda in 1667. Intent on securing their hold over every nutmeg producing island, the Dutch offered a trade. Wow. What is the trade? If the British would give them the island of Run, they would in turn give Britain a distant and much less valuable island in North America. The British agreed. Wow. That other island was Manhattan, which is how New Amsterdam became New York. Dutch now had a monopoly over the nutmeg trade, which would last for another century. Wow. So the last sentence, I think it gives the answer, right? So the Treaty of Breda has happened. Treaty means an agreement, guys. It is like an agreement or a bond between two bodies, right? So the Dutch offered the trade agreement to the British. What is it? If the British would give them the island of Run, then they would give them a distant and much less valuable island. What was that island? That was Manhattan, and now it's the present New York. So the British agreed. Here it is given the British agreed for the treaty. So the island came into the control of the Dutch now. The island of Run came into the control of the Dutch. So Dutch now had the monopoly, means they are the whole and sole authority over the nutmeg trade, which would last for another century. Wow, wonderful. So what's the answer? What do you think is the answer? Following the Treaty of Breda, the Dutch had control of all the islands where nutmeg grew? Yes. They had the control. Only one island was out of control, the island of Run, but that also they took into control by offering a treaty with the British after the Treaty of Breda. So the seventh one should be true. Right, let's move to the next set of questions now. So Middle Ages, nutmeg was brought to Europe by the dash. You have to note the instructions, guys. It is only one word, right? So nutmeg was brought to the Europe by the, I think we have read it already, the passage. This is in the second passage, right? Throughout this period, the Arabs were the exclusive importers of the spice to the Europe. It means Arabs brought this nutmeg to the Europe. Okay, so the answer is the Arabs. We have to write only one word, which means the answer is just Arabs. Okay, so let's move to the next one. 17th century. Demand for nutmeg grew as it was believed to be effective against a disease known as the dash. So here he is talking about some disease, and in the 17th century. So these two are the hints. So let's move to the paragraph. Hence, in the fourth para, which we have read already, 17th century means 1602, something by the 17th century, right? So we'll read from here. The company had 50,000 employees worldwide, with a private army of 30,000 men and a fleet of 200 ships. At the same time, thousands of people across Europe were dying of the plague, a highly contagious and deadly disease. So this is the disease he's talking about. Doctors were desperate for a way to stop the spread of this disease, and they decided nutmeg held the cure. So the cure for this disease is in the nutmeg. Everybody wanted nutmeg, and many were willing to spare no expense to have it. Nutmeg bought for a few pennies in Indonesia could be sold for 68,000 times its original cost on the streets of London. Wow, the only problem was the short supply, and that's where the Dutch found their opportunity. So what's the disease he's talking about? Many people were dying of the plague. So this is the disease he's talking about. So what should be the answer, guys? Yes, you are right. known disease known as the plague. So plague was the disease here. Next, the Dutch took control of the Banda Islands, restricted nutmeg production to a few areas, then put dash on nutmeg to avoid it being cultivated outside the islands. Okay, they have put something on the nutmeg to avoid being cultivated outside the islands. What was that? Let's read further. So this para tells us about the Banda Islands, right? So they took control of the Banda Islands here. Okay, let's read from here. Once securely in control of the Bandas, the Dutch went to work protecting their new investment. They concentrated all nutmeg production into a few easily guarded areas, uprooting and destroying any trees outside the plantation zones. Anyone caught growing a nutmeg seedling or carrying seeds without the proper authority was severely punished. In addition, all exported nutmeg was covered with lime to make sure that there was no chance of fertile seed which could be grown elsewhere would leave the islands. Wow, I think we just got the answer, right? So I'll read one more time for you guys. In addition, all exported nutmeg was covered with lime to make sure there was no chance of fertile seed which could be grown elsewhere would leave the islands. So this is what they have put on the nutmeg, right? See, they put dash on the nutmeg to avoid it being cultivated outside the islands. Lime. Okay, lime is our answer. Next one. Finally obtained the island of dash from the British. We have read it already. What is that? This. So the intent on securing their hold over every nutmeg producing island, the Dutch offered a trade. If the British would give them the island of Run, they would in turn give Britain a distant island, right? So what is that? The island of Run. So they made an agreement with the British for the island of Run. So the answer is Run, R-U-N, right? Next, the late 18th century. 1770, nutmeg plants were secretly taken to the dash. So 1770 is our hint here. Let's read there. So this is in the next para itself. In 1770, a French man named Pereire successfully smuggled nutmeg plants to safety in Mauritius, an island off the coast of Africa. Wow, so what's the answer? So this guy, Frenchman, took the nutmeg plants to Mauritius. So this should be the answer, right? In 1770, nutmeg plants were secretly taken to Mauritius. Right. In 1778, half the Banda Islands nutmeg plantations were destroyed by a dash. So again, 1778 is the hint. So let's read it again. So let's read. Some of these were later exported to the Caribbean, where they thrived, especially on the island of Grenada. Next, in 1778, a volcanic eruption in the Banda region caused a tsunami that wiped out half the nutmeg groves. Wow. So what should be the answer? Is it volcanic eruption or tsunami? What do you think? Answer should be tsunami, not the volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption caused the tsunami, and the tsunami wiped out the nutmeg grooves. That's what he's talking about. So half of the Banda Islands nutmeg plantations were destroyed by a tsunami. So be careful about the spellings, guys. T is silent here. Even if you miss one letter, the spelling would be considered as wrong. So this is the end of the first passage of test 1, Cambridge 15. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe. This will be highly used for IELTS aspirants. So let's meet in some other video. Until next time, goodbye.